Good morning. Welcome back to the Pick and Coop Farmstead. I'm Debbie, and today is going to be part 2 of the sourdough bread making. So what I've done, you'll need to go back and watch part 1. That'll be up, I think, tomorrow, or it might already be up. I'm not sure. So the last video I made the dough. We let it sit out overnight so it could rise and ferment, and now it is more than doubled in size. And then we're going to go ahead and shape the loaves and come along for the ride. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, you've got your dough. I leave it on top of my fridge because it's nice and moist up there, and it is more than doubled in size. It was like down to here. So it is definitely ready. I've got a bench scraper. I've got my bowl scraper. And you're going to need some flour. And then I don't have the little fancy baskets, excuse me, that everybody else has. I figure use what you got, right? I've got a vintage antique colander, a dishcloth. I'm making 2 loaves, so I have another fancy little colander and another dishcloth. So the first thing you want to do is just sprinkle some flour around on the towel inside the colander. And that's what you're going to, it's going to sit in these colanders while you do your, excuse me, your refrigerator ferment. So those are all ready to go. Then you want to lightly flour your bench. Then I use my bowl scraper, and you kind of hang on to it. It's kind of heavy. Scrape it on out of there, right onto your bench. Now remember, this is a double loaf recipe. We'll get that out of there. And I try to scrape out as much dough as I can. There shouldn't be too much left in here. It's out. There we go. Then I try to kind of get it somewhat together here. And what I'm going to do is cut this in half. That's where your bench scraper comes in handy. So I'm just going to cut that right in half. Got a little crumb of something in there. A little more flour. You can measure these to make sure you get them even. I don't, it doesn't really matter because all the stuff I do is for personal consumption. Then I just kind of get it rolling around in the flour. And then I make like a, you can keep putting your hands in the flour if it's a little sticky. Make a triangle, and then I go over, wrap it in on itself. I just keep turning it. This creates tension. Get a little more flour if we're sticking. And you're creating tension all the time. And you can feel that the dough is not as jiggly and it starts getting a little tighter. That's the object of all of this. I'm going to put a little more flour. Try to use the least amount of flour that you can. All right, so I'm going to do one more rectangle. And then what I do is just roll it up on itself. And then roll it again the opposite direction. Get your flour in to where you can actually use it. And then I just tuck the outer edge. I use my hands, the edge of my hands right here. Tuck it in, and just keep going. And you'll see, as it builds tension, little bubbles will form. I'll show you here in just a second. A little more flour. And you can kind of see little bubbles in there, right in there. And that means you're building your tension correctly. Okay, so now, once you've got that going, a little more flour there. You're gonna grab your basket or colander, whatever you have. I kind of make sure that the flour is spread all the way up the sides. You don't want it sticking to your towel. There we go. Scoop it up, turn it upside down so your bottom is like that. Put it in your lined basket, and then you're going to pinch. I'm trying to get this where you can see it. Pinch that seam together. That creates even more tension. Just pinch, pinch, pinch. So it's going to look like that. Okay, so this is ready. I sprinkle a tiny bit of more flour on top just so your towel doesn't stick. Fold it over. Then it's ready for the fridge. Now when you do your ferment in the fridge, you're gonna want to, you can leave it in there for 1 hour, up to 6 hours or even longer, I believe. And that makes it nice, so if you have something to do, you can go get that done and come back and then bake your loaves. All right, we got this all floured up. We are going to stretch and fold, stretch and fold, stretch and fold, stretch and fold. Just keep doing that and you'll feel it. Little flour. Stretch and fold, stretch and fold. And it took me a while to get a rhythm. It's like you've got to have a rhythm of, you know, you've got to feed your starter the night before so it's as active as possible. Then the next morning, you can build your dough with your flour, salt, warm water, and starter. And then that has to sit for as long as it takes. And again, it depends on your house if it's warm or not. As long as it takes to get it nice and bubbly. Once it's bubbly, like I said, you can build your dough. Then your dough has to sit covered for another, usually at least 6 hours to 8, or even sometimes overnight, because it's been pretty cool here at night. And then we're tucking in the corners, tucking in the corners. You just keep doing that. Some people roll it and over on it. So this is the easiest way I have found for me. And it's getting tighter. It's building air bubbles. That's exactly what you want. I think I got a little more dough on this half, but that's okay. Now, if I was selling these, I'd probably want them a lot more uniform. But, like I said, I am not selling them. Okay, I think I'm just about there. All right, I've got my second colander all floured up. Turn it upside down. Pinch the seams together, creating even more tension. Just a little on top. You don't want your towel sticking to that. All right, so these guys are ready for the refrigerator. So I'm gonna go get the rest of my morning chores done, and then we will come back and bake these guys. All right, so I've got my bread out of the oven. out of the refrigerator. I preheated my oven to 500 degrees. I put this pan in there for about 10 to 15 minutes to heat up. They say you don't have to with the recipe, but I like the crust on it a little better. Then I use a piece of parchment paper, and FYI, you can use these over and over and over again until they disintegrate. Then you're going to get your bread out. Carefully put it in here because remember this pan is hot. Then I kind of smooth around the flour that I put on the top of this over the bread. It's kind of messy. Then I just use an X-Acto knife because I don't have a fancy cutter. So I'll cut it big, and you can go at least an inch down. I'm gonna have to change the blade on this little guys. Getting a little dull. Then I might just put like a big leaf or something over on the other side. You can do whatever you like. There. So I don't know if you can see that. I'll just put it right over the top. Okay, now I'm going to put this little guy in the oven. So you're going to cook this at 500 for 10 minutes. Then you turn it down to 475 for 30 minutes. So it's a total of 40 minutes. So I'll bring you back when we're all done. I did forget to say that I don't have a Dutch oven, so I have one of these deep skillets, and I invert that and put that on here upside down. So it creates basically a little Dutch oven. So there we go. Now we're going into the oven. Okay, timer went off. Here you have it. Nice, beautiful loaf of sourdough bread. So let's take a closer look. So I have number 2 that I have to do, but I do want to go outside, and I'm going to, where are you? There you are. I'm going to plant some tomatoes because the wind stopped finally, and I'm going to get all the rest of my tomatoes planted. So I will talk to you later. I hope the sun is shining where you are, and I hope you have a great day. I will put a link to, I want to say it's Everyday Sourdough. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. It's truesourdough.com, and I'm going to go ahead and put that link in the comments, and then you guys can go and check her out and learn how to do all the fun things. You have a great day. Bye-bye.